Uncharted 3 starts with a bang. We like to begin every Uncharted game with a sequence of play that really puts you right into the thick of it. And of course, the beginning of every game has to teach you something about the core systems of the game, but we're always very keen to do that in a way that never lets the player feel like they're in the middle of a tutorial. It was a lot of fun putting that sequence together. Many different game designers at Naughty Dog touched that sequence of play at one point or another, and of course the amazing artists that worked on it, Brian Beppu and my mate Ruben, really aced it, I think, at capturing the feel of an English pub, even though those guys are Americans. We worked really hard at that. But the game designers who worked on it, in particular John Swisshelm, who was one of the newer game designers at Naughty Dog, worked really hard to integrate all of the core melee combat mechanics that we put into Uncharted 3 and present them in this really cinematic, attention-grabbing, storytelling way. And I think it really came together nicely.
Crap! Suélteme, viejo!
Let's try that again.
Let go of me.
Ah, that's what I thought. Now don't try to run.
Well, we've been so keen to keep this sequence of play secret that I'm even really reluctant to talk about it right now, because it's the kind of thing that, you know, it would be very hard if you were making a feature film to be able to discuss in detail some sequence of the film that was going to have such a big impact on not just those few minutes that you're experiencing it, but the whole arc of the rest of the experience. Just like we do with every last character in the Uncharted games, we cast it very carefully. I know that Amy Hennig, our creative director, and Gordon Hunt, who is our director of motion capture, who works very closely with the actors, interviewed very many young actors before they settled on Billy, who plays young Drake. And they had to make sure that they were finding just the right actor who was going to be able to do justice to the role. And I think that he really did an amazing job. I think I'm right in saying that it was his first time acting in a motion capture suit, which brings with it its own creative challenges for an actor, of course. Yeah, he jumped right in and knocked it out of the park in terms of his performance.
You are a crafty little beggar, aren't you?
I know how to take care of myself. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you don't like the cops any more than I do.
Good point. Kid. The wallet.
Had to try.
Of course you did.
It's the North Atwood Station, come on!
One of the sequences that I worked on was the London Underground level, and that was a real labour of love for me. And I worked with another English person, my friend Andy Watkins, who was the environment artist for certain parts of that level, along with Dustin King and Melissa Altabello, who I have to name check, who did such an amazing job creating these strange, even slightly surreal environments as you go down kind of through the different strata of underground London. We did a lot of research for this level. Of course, as an English person, I wanted to get it exactly right, and I'm really pleased with the way it came out. The cruise ship level of Uncharted 3 is another piece of Jacob Minkoff madness. Jacob loves to make these sequences of gameplay that at first seem impossible. And in fact, he tells a great story about presenting the idea for the cruise ship to a group of programmers and artists and animators at Naughty Dog in the early days of Uncharted 3. And when he first outlined it to them, I think they thought he'd lost his mind. But he says in a great tribute to them, they went away, thought about it for 20 minutes, and then they came back and they said, all right, and there are going to be this and that challenge to do with presenting a cruise ship, which is one enormous physics object whose motion is driven by a dynamic water simulation, our dynamic sea system that we have in Uncharted 3, and which is then going to roll over in the course of play. But they seized the nettle, they took up the challenge, and they've really knocked it out of the park. It's really, I think, one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in a video game. So I grew up loving the Poseidon adventure, and we name-checked that a lot as we were thinking about that sequence. But also in terms of an interactive gameplay experience, of course, when you transform an environment like that, and the player has to do the kind of 90-degree rotation in their brain to be able to understand the environment around them, that's a very game-like experience, and one that I think Jacob and the rest of the team really took advantage of. Have to plan a sequence like the cargo plane very carefully, and we had the idea for the sequence of play fairly early on, but it was really Kurt Margenau, one of our game designers, who just seized the idea and ran with it, and he applied one of the most important things that we've learned about video game development at Naughty Dog, which is that thinking and talking about an idea can only take you so far. You really have to just get on and build something, which is exactly what Kurt did. He just made a working cargo plane that climbed and dived and rolled in order to be able to learn the valuable lessons that he then applied in the creation of that sequence, working in collaboration with all of the other Naughty Dogs who worked with him on it. And that was the way that sequence of play emerged, in the way that we open up the play. There are very many different approaches you can take in the combat, both with the guy who's on the hatch, which is open at the back of the plane, and then when you get into the cover-based gun combat, as you have to fight forwards through the plane. There's lots of different ways you can approach that stuff, and the artistry of it, I think, becomes discovering how to channel the player's experience towards the kind of dramatic moments that we need to use to advance both the action and the story in a way that allows the player to feel like they've been able to express themselves in those more open sequences of play. I think that a lot of the artistry of creating an interactive cinematic experience is to do with being able to do that well. That moment where you suddenly realize that you're actually in control is reminiscent of a number of moments like that throughout all of the Uncharted games, and we do it as much as we possibly can because we really believe in keeping the player in control from moment to moment whenever we can. We'll always restore control to the player a few moments earlier if we're able to.